Yo, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to the Journey Podcast. I just finished this book. It's called Made in America by Sam Walton, who is the founder and CEO of Walmart. And it is a pretty incredible story just to listen how this man started Walmart as, one single store out in Arkansas in the middle of America and grew it into the biggest national retailer in America. And at one point, he was the richest man in America. I don't know if he was the richest man in the world. He could have been, possibly. I don't know. But he was for sure at one point the richest man in America. And, there's just so many takeaways in this book that I thought were very profound to hear how this man went from literally a nobody into the richest man in America. And so one of the things that we're going to share with you is just things that I've learned from this book. And then you can also just take those learning lessons and apply them into your own journey as well. So the first thing that I want to share with you guys is that in the very beginning of this book, this guy did not care about money whatsoever. It's actually very interesting. He actually talked down about people who spend their money frivolously. I guess spend their money flashy. He drove a pickup truck. He lived in a pretty modest home. He did say that he enjoyed some luxuries, like flying his jet, and then also having team meetings, places. But he saved and pinched every single dollar that he could in the process of building Walmart. And even when he became a billionaire, he still did not flash his money whatsoever. In fact, the reason why he was a billionaire is because he held on to a lot of his wealth. He held on to a lot of his stock, and he said that he didn't plan to sell his stock, at any point because that's how much he believed in Walmart. And so it's very interesting that this man was a very wealthy person, the richest man in America, but he saved his money and only spent it in areas of growth for his business. Even when he was a billionaire, he held on to his money because he just believed in Walmart that much. And that's how invested he was into Walmart. He also said that he probably could have been richer and more wealthier had he diversified his portfolio and invested in other things. But literally, he was all in on Walmart. He just one business, one stock, and he believed in it so much, and he just held all the stock. And to the day he died, he still owned about 38% of all of Walmart stocks. So he was still the major shareholder of Walmart, where he said most people would sell their stock off in chunks and enjoy their money. He said that brought him no pleasure whatsoever. And so the interesting thing as well is that this book wasn't very personal at all. It was all about Walmart and his business. And whenever it would turn time to his own personal philosophies or his beliefs, it was very interesting, but he very quickly would revert back to details of retailing. Like, I can't tell you how many times he talked about how he had the cheapest toothpaste in town, or how he was going head to head with Kmart on prices and bundles, and how like they would save by bypassing third party manufacturers and going straight to manufacturers, or even how they set up their own distribution system. So like he went into such granular detail in this book about his business, and you can just tell this man was a fanatic. He loved what he was doing. He loved his business, and that's really all he cared to talk about, was just how he could be the best damn retailer in the world. And so you can tell that his money and wealth didn't actually come from the goal of trying to get rich and trying to get wealthy. It really just came from the goal of him improving on his business and in trying to be the best in the marketplace. He honestly said in the book too, he didn't actually have a goal to build Walmart to as big as it is. He said that once Walmart was at 9 stores, he wanted to see if they can profitably growth and continue and see where they go, right? And so he really didn't have a plan to build Walmart up into like a $500 billion per year company. He just was taking it day by day and just seeing how he can improve his business. And then it turned into, what it is today. So it was very interesting that the second thing I took away was that he was an absolute fanatic. His goal wasn't actually to get rich, but his goal was just to make Walmart the best. I think he would even fly into he would be in private jets, or not private jets, but he was a pilot, right? So he bought his own private plane, and he would fly up and see where the traffic flows to see where he was going to put his stores. Right? So the man was an absolute fanatic. That's number two. The third thing is time horizons. This man stuck to Walmart for 40 years, right? He did not get rich quick. A lot of people these days see 20-year-olds that are millionaires. They're trying to get rich into crypto. They're trying to build the biggest e-com business. Like they're trying to get, rich quick. But like this man's wealth came from investing in business and his business over and over and over again for the sake of 40 years, right? So he started this when he was 30 years old, and then he finished it when he was 75 or 72. He eventually died. That's what happened. He died, and that's how his story ended. But 40 years, right? That is a very, very long time to be consistent in business. And so for me as a young buck, I have to recognize I'm only 25. Sam Walton, the richest man in America at one point, he didn't even start his business until he was 32, right? So we have time. The other thing as well is that we need to remember to continue to invest in a business over a long time horizon. So give yourself time. Lastly, this is the one that really I found interesting. Sam Walton, the way he describes himself, he is a country boy through and through. He kind of like, they even describe themselves as like Arkansas hillbilly farm boys, right? But he was incredibly smart with rising technology. And so he started his business, I think in the 50s or the 40s or the 50s. And in the 60s, he learned about computers. He was very interested in how he can use technology to his advantage. Now, remember, the 60s, that was very early for computers. That's like when like computers were like conceptualized, like very, very early when it started hitting like public, consumer markets. Um, and so for this man to be, in his 30s, 40s, 50s, and there's this new technology coming out, you would think that most people would be like old timers and try to resist the new technology and keep things the old fashioned way. But he was one of the first to adopt it. He had computers, tracking data from his distribution centers and his shipping centers, and then having all his managers report the data so he can manage hundreds and hundreds of stores because of this technology. And what was interesting is that he actually invested in seminars, he invested in college courses as a grown adult to learn about these computers so he can use it into his business. And so he used technology to his advantage to make his business even better. And I see this happening in the fitness industry is that, in-person training is starting to kind of phase out a little bit. There's less and less in-person trainers and more online trainers because online is the way to go. Online is the future, right? And so, you know, resisting the future, resisting the online aspect of personal training is like being an old timer resisting change, right? But the change is actually leading towards that future of going online. And so those are some takeaways that I took from reading his biography. If you guys are into reading, you guys want a good book, highly recommend you read it. Hope you guys took something away from that, and we'll catch you guys in the next episode. Peace.